Welcome to the latest podcast edition of Business Spotlight. I am joined today by John Rafferty, who, with his business partner, Paul Pickard, have set up the firm Rafferty and Pickard. So welcome, John, to the call.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good to see you. John, we've been speaking before the podcast about the fact this is a fairly new business. So tell us a little bit about why you set it up, what it is that you do, and what you're trying to achieve with your partnership with Paul.
Lovely. Okay, thank you. So I've been in this property industry now for about 22 years, and most of that time has been spent as the owner of a small village estate agency, dealing with similar normal residential properties and building that brand and building the team there. And a few years ago, it was probably the birth of all these reality TV shows that are showing like Selling Sunset and shows like that, where you have agents selling very high-end properties using some very innovative technology, often abroad, and but with agents that had a small amount of experience compared to somebody like myself. And I just used to watch them and think, actually, there's a gap in the market when you look at this country for the high-end property market to benefit from somebody that has skills and experience that they've developed over a couple of decades, but is also not afraid to embrace technology, put themselves out there, get their face on camera, and embrace some of the tools that a lot of the big, well-established brands don't seem to be adopting at the moment. And it was actually in a passing conversation with Paul, my business partner, whereby he said he fancied a change, and he had been the director of an IT company that looked after all our IT in our village estate agency, Bluebell Estates. And he got to a point in life where he fancied a bit of a change, a new challenge, and a new direction. And I then sat in my office and just pitched him the idea of us pooling resources and merging our skills, his IT and technology background with my estate agency skills and knowledge. And we thought that the two skill sets actually would be ideal for the way that estate agency seems to be going, particularly in Australia and America, who tend to lead the way. So around about 3 years ago, we launched. It was January 21. We held off on launching for quite a period because it was in the time when we had lots of COVID lockdowns and restrictions on moving, and it was a very uncertain time in terms of what the government were going to do in the light of a new strain. Could they lock us down for a longer period of time? And whilst after that first easing of the first lockdown, my village estate agency was snowed under with people looking to escape London. And it was the race for space, as it's now known, where everybody was flocking to coast and country. It was still difficult when you were looking at a brand new business getting off of the ground in that quite restricted marketplace where, you know, there were still measures that you had to follow in terms of you couldn't see people face to face at certain times, or, you know, you had to exercise social distancing. So yeah, we held off and until we could hold off no longer, and we just thought, if we don't do it now, we're never going to do it. And actually, how long is this COVID cloud going to be over us? We've just got to get on and launch the business. So yeah, that was January 21. Had some good results since then. A degree of luck here and there, which we've obviously grabbed with both hands. A couple of opportunities, but yeah, that so far so good.
Okay, so it's interesting that you're in one of those industries, a bit like law firms, the legal system, and accountancy, where change doesn't seem to happen very fast. And also interesting that you set up in the COVID, although you've had years of experience behind you. I remember one of my colleagues saying that COVID accelerated changes in people's behavior in the economy that were already there, but, you know, perhaps not so prominent. And you've looked at this, looked at your business from the idea of merging, fusing technology, and great, social, the high quality interactions, people interactions and relationships. What is it you think that makes it so much harder for the rest of the industry to see where you're going? You referenced other countries and what's happening out there. What's holding everybody else back in the UK in terms of estate agencies and doing things the old traditional way?
I think particularly for the large corporate estate agents that have been established for 100+ years, they have to be very protective of their reputation. And I think that results in the fact that they don't give their staff complete autonomy as far as how they promote their own self within the business or their own branch within a larger branch network. So I think where we're quite different is that we are so agile and dynamic that we can see something happening on social media or some sort of new trend in a state agency, and we can just pivot straight towards that without any board meetings and trying to change the direction of a large juggernaut of a company. We can literally just go straight towards that. So I think from that point of view we're fortunate, but I think perhaps the big boys could learn from that they probably ought to be giving their staff a little bit more freedom and autonomy about how they represent their own brands and things.
Is that is that a philosophy you believe you could continue with if you scaled up and expanded your team even further?
Yeah.
Is it kind of wired into your way of doing things really, rather than the agility of being a smaller company?
Yeah, so I think my company ethos is that we've always got to be ahead of the curve in terms of what's coming out. So I think innovation and technology, you can see it with AI coming down the road now. Things are happening and changing so quickly that if you're not obsessed with developing the company in terms of its innovation and direction of travel, you could easily get left behind. If we do have plans to expand, and if we do, we would probably look to take on self-employed agents. So they are masters of their own destiny. It's their baby. They work under our umbrella with our mentorship, but so we can steer them gently in a certain direction. But I think it's important for people to be given that freedom to decide what works for them and their market that they work in. So.
Okay, no, that's really interesting. So you teased us a little bit with the technology side of things, and I know that's more Paul's side, but you're working closely with him. So give us an example of where you've applied technology in perhaps some of these recent transactions that you've done.
So one of our big things is video, because it's far more engaging to a buyer to watch a video. It's more emotive. They can really get a sense for the property, its surroundings, the lifestyle that it can offer. And we can then also promote that on social media channels. And most people spend hours a day on their phones. So in terms of again, many agents don't offer video as standard to their house sellers. We create cinematic videos that we think are among the best in this country, certainly. We've spent, again, a lot of money and time on courses, watching how they do it in America, selling their big multi-million-pound listings over there, and just bringing that technology over into this country. So we're both qualified commercial drone pilots. We film all our own footage in-house, and Paul has mastered the art of editing on things like Final Cut, and so I think it's how we put that marketing video together. It probably takes a day per property, so it's quite time intensive, but the results, I think, speak for themselves, and hopefully they serve as a bit of an advert for us and what we can do, and how we've just tied up a sale in Broadstairs on a property just over $1 million, so sort of in the mid-range of what we do. But the previous agent, this property was probably less than 100 meters from some of the beautiful Kent coast, and the previous agent had no reference to the coast whatsoever in their marketing. So suddenly, when we see our video flying from me presenting to camera, going up over the sea on a lovely blue sky day, it just looks far more engaging than just a still photo of the front of the property.
I can imagine. So from the buyer's point of view, obviously it's immediately apparent and clear why this would be different. How do you get any pushback from the vendors when you present your model, or are they people already looking for something like this, or are you kind of selling them the idea of how you're going to sell their house for them?
I certainly don't think we've had any pushback. Most vendors are amazed that we are able to create a video as we have, with the tools that we've got. I think that once they see it, they realise how it will sell the property compared to other agents' work, you get the odd seller that might be concerned about privacy, but obviously we can be discreet and we can either release that video to a select number of people, or if we're promoting it fully online, then we can choose which rooms are shown and which aren't. So so we can we certainly haven't come up against anybody saying I don't want a video like that, because most people are bowled over when they see them. So
but of course, in a way, that's your niche, isn't it? So people that don't are going to qualify themselves out of being your customers, and meanwhile, you attract those that really do. And I think that if you're showing videos and people are being wowed by it, that's just absolute confirmation that you really have found something that other people aren't doing, and it's like a revelation moment. They're looking at it and think, oh yeah, absolutely, why is nobody else doing this? which is fantastic. And it's also interesting, implied really in what you said earlier, that you've been very brave, the two of you. You've looked at a challenging market, you've looked at what other people are doing, and you kind of stepped into it and fused your talents together without previous sort of confirmation that it would actually work. So it's really good to hear what you're doing.
Yeah, it's a bit of a David and Goliath from that point of view. I mean, we certainly haven't got the marketing budgets that some of the long established operators have, but as I said to you at the start, if we can be a bit innovative and embrace the latest technologies and promote the properties in different places that they're not focusing on, then for the time being, until they decide to follow suit and throw some money at their problem, I'm sure we're trying to just lead the way from that point of view. But as I said to you at the start, the whole ethos is if we can always be one step ahead on that innovation journey, then hopefully we'll always have that niche carved out for us. So
fantastic. It's really refreshing to hear about innovation in an industry that has long established and has its ways of doing things. So it's been great to hear about your experience, and really do wish you well for the future. And thank you, John, for joining us on the call today.
No problem at all. My pleasure. Thank you.